Whoa, that is a good looking pudding.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Hey, happy Tuesday, and welcome to our video series of Happy Birthday Divas. This is going to be a year-long celebration of all of our favorite divas, and we are going to celebrate them with a recipe, a craft, a decoration tip, something fun to celebrate their birthdays. Today, January 19th, we are going to be celebrating the one, the only, yes, there are two of them here, and I'm not talking about dolls, I'm talking about bing, bing, Dolly Parton. Today she's 75. That's right. 1946, our queen of country was born. To say I'm a fan, a little bit of an understatement. She is a pretty cool gal, and maybe one day I'll meet her. I don't know. But for now, these dolls are gonna have to do. So today we're gonna be celebrating her with a family recipe of hers that is a banana pudding. I've tweaked it a little bit to kind of fit my taste, and we are gonna be making it. So first, let's get started with changing out of this. All right, well now that we're ready to start cooking, let's talk about the ingredients that we're gonna be using in our banana pudding today. We have a 12-ounce box of wafer cookies, 3 bananas, a pinch of salt, a half a cup of flour, a tablespoon of cornstarch, 1 cup of sugar, 4 tablespoons of butter, 1 whole egg, about 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 4 egg yolks. The egg whites are in the refrigerator staying cold until it's time for the meringue, and then 4 cups of milk. And again, if you need this recipe, just pop on over to frontdoorstudios.com and we have all of that there, or you can follow the links below. So let's get started in assembling this. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna line our dish with our wafer cookies. So I'm just gonna grab a handful and get these going in here. Just kind of keep them all nice and neat, lined up. We just want to kind of get ahead, and then we'll layer our pudding on top, and then we'll do another layer of this in a moment once we get the pudding made. So let's continue doing this. This is one thing that you can change in the recipe. If you are a banana lover and you love more bananas than wafers, definitely, flex this recipe so that way it suits your taste buds. I'm more of a wafer guy, so I want all of these scrumptious cookies in my pan. And I always want to make sure that I line the sides of my pan as well, so you get a cookie in every bite. If you really love bananas, like I said, instead of 3 bananas, make it 4. Do whatever you want, because this is a tasty dessert and you should make it the way that you love it. So I'm just gonna finish off this one little side here, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to have perfect cookies. Mine have somehow started cracking. I don't even know, it's crazy. So we're just gonna throw these in here, and then we're gonna do the same with our bananas. I did sprinkle my bananas. It's called Fruit Fresh. You can find it in the canning and preserving food area of your grocery store, and you just sprinkle it on, and it's supposed to keep it from turning brown, but I think maybe these have sat out for a few minutes too long. So you wanna make sure that you do this kind of quickly from the start. So we're just gonna line our pan with our bananas and get this going here. All right, so we have our first little layer of bananas and wafers. I don't put bananas going up the side like I do with the wafers because we have to have something for the meringue to stick to. So we're just gonna pop these and make sure that every place is covered, and we will pop this to the side while we make our pudding. Well, let's get started with our pudding mixture. So what we're gonna do, remember that flour that I was talking about? We're gonna just go ahead and dump this into the bottom of our saucepan here. I already have it warming up, and we're gonna keep it on a low heat for right now. And we're gonna put our flour, a healthy pinch of salt. It's gonna be about 1/8 of a teaspoon. We're also going to put in our cornstarch. This is 1 tablespoon of cornstarch here. Let's see, it kind of got stuck in here. All right, so we're gonna dump that in there. Okay. Then we're also gonna pop in our cup of sugar. So we're just gonna take our whisk and we're gonna whisk all of these dry ingredients together over the stove to get them very, very well incorporated and kind of start getting warmed up. Also, to make note, our milk is kind of at a room temperature. It's not fresh out the refrigerator. It's not perfectly cold, and we don't want it that way. We want everything to kind of be at the same temperature base, so then that way they can kind of get groovy together in the pot at the same time. If they were really cold, they would shock one another, and then it could be a little funky. So what we're gonna do now is we are gonna go ahead and incorporate our 3 cups of milk in here. So we're just gonna pour this yummy milk. And you can use whole milk, you can use 2% milk, whatever you prefer. We're using 2% today because, I mean, have you seen the ingredients? It's gonna be delicious. So we're just gonna take a few minutes here and we're just gonna stir everything in, make sure that everything is nice and combined. We don't wanna have any lumps in our milk mixture with our dry ingredients. I'm gonna get everything nice and well incorporated. And because everything's kind of warm, room temperature, it will be quick and easy to mix. All right, then we're just gonna leave it here. We're just gonna let it come to a nice, slow, rolling boil. We don't want it a major bubble. We want it to just be a nice little boil for a few minutes, and we're gonna stir it occasionally, make sure that everything's still, cohabitating together. All right, so actually we didn't even have to come to a full boil for this to all come together. So just make sure that you keep an eye on your heat. You don't want it to burn. And if it does, just strain it out. Like milk is very finicky and sometimes it gets a little brown in some spots. And to be quite honest, mine has done that. So we're actually probably gonna end up straining ours. And you know what, that's okay. Just as long as it doesn't burn, it's not gonna change the flavor. But what I'm actually going to do right now is I'm going to remove this from the heat for just a few seconds. And what this will do is kind of let it come to a little bit more of a normal temperature, not so hot. And what we're gonna do is we are actually going to now temper in our eggs for our pudding. So what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna grab this bowl here. I'm gonna pop in our whole egg. And then I'm also gonna pop in our 4 egg yolks, okay? Now, a yolk is the fattiest part of the egg, but that also kind of makes it the most delicious part. So these are gonna just pop in here and they're gonna make this so rich and delicious. And I'm just gonna go ahead and break them up. And if you notice, there was a little bit of our pudding mixture on here, which is great because we're actually about to put more of it in here so that way all of this can become the same temperature before we actually put it into the pot. So that way we don't end up with a big scrambled mess. So eggs can be kind of funky too. So we just want to get, whoo, that's a little funky egg thing going on there. Girl, what are you doing? All right, so now we are going to do about 3 to 4 tablespoons, whatever you feel comfortable with. And you want to do this slowly. You don't want to put it all in at the same time because then things just get funky. So we're just going to do one at a time. Oh my gosh, y'all, this pudding looks so delicious. The yellow is actually what's going to give it the color that we're used to seeing out of an instant pudding mix. That is the artificial coloring that they put it in here in the pudding mix, but this is going to actually be yellow because of the eggs. So I'm just going to pop that right there, and then we're just going to mix this nice and easy. I chose the world's smallest bowl to do this in. So if you have a larger bowl, I would recommend doing that because this is this is quite funny. So just make sure that this is very well incorporated. And if you're holding it, you should be able to feel that the bottom of your, what is this funky thing in here? Let's get that out. You want to make sure that you can feel that the eggs are no longer cold, no longer refrigerated temperature, that they're actually getting warm. They should feel like kind of like a body temperature. So I'm going to come back in here. I'm just going to give this a little swirl, see how our pudding is doing. Maybe put my hand down in there, see if they're about the same temperature. And then we're just going to whisk all of this in. Just whisk it in. Get all of this yummy egg yolk in there. And just whisk. You don't want to end up with scrambled eggs. So that's why we do that. So that way the eggs are not like, whoa, this is crazy. And then we're going to bring it back onto our burner. We're going to add our butter, and then we're going to take it off the burner once it melts and add in our vanilla extract. So we're going to bring this back on here. And we are going to just make sure that everything now is mixed and incorporated all together, which it is. Let's toss in our butter, because banana pudding's not banana pudding unless it's butter and fat, right? So let's add that in. Make sure that our temperature is going to be on a really low setting. We don't want it super hot. We're just trying to get the butter melted and everything incorporated. We are at that point where we can put in our vanilla. So everything is done. This looks super glossy. That's kind of what you want it to look like once the butter goes in here. It's going to give it that nice sheen. It's going to just make it look all, whoa, that is a good looking pudding. So, all right, we just popped in our vanilla extract. We're going to let this sit to the side and kind of cool down a little bit more. And we are going to make our meringue. Well, what would Dolly do? How would she finish this dessert? I think she would put a meringue on it. And I'm pretty sure she would because it was in her mom's original recipe. So this is going to be super easy to make. We are going to use our 4 egg whites. We just pulled them out the refrigerator. And we're going to pop these in a bowl. You're going to want a handheld mixer on standby because if you don't have one, it's a whole thing. So we also want to have our sugar. We have lemon juice and our vanilla extract again. So it's not going to call for a lot of these. That's why I have the tiniest little bowls over here. And what we're going to do is we are going to start beating this with a little squeeze of lemon juice, like half of a teaspoon, like not even a whole bunch. We are going to start whipping them up. So turn it on high and just start beating. And then we're going to add a teaspoon of sugar and then our teaspoon of vanilla extract. All right, so once this starts to get a little frothy, we're going to add our sugar into this. Now the sugar is going to act as a stabilizer to help us get those hard, stiff peaks that we're looking for. And we are about to get to the point where we should add our sugar. So I'm just going to turn this off, sit this to the side for a second so I can measure. We're going to find our teaspoon right here. Teaspoon of sugar. And we're going to finish it with the vanilla extract. Give it some zazz. I promise the time that we have put into this is going to be so worth it because the proof is going to be in its taste. Dare I say that the proof's going to be in the pudding? All right, so we're starting to get nice soft peaks here where it's kind of folding back onto itself where the beater's running through. So I know we're getting very, very close to our firm peaks. We are going to add in our vanilla, and we're just going to kind of slowly pour it in. Make sure we get every last little bit in here. All right, I'm going to check and see where we're at, and we've got maybe a few seconds left. We're very close though. I think these peaks are Dolly approved. Now is the most fun part. We are going to assemble our banana pudding. So we have our pudding, of course. We actually ended up straining this just because we saw that there were a few little lumps in there, and you don't want that whenever you're going to eat your pudding. No lumps. So we are going to just pop this over our bananas and our wafers that we did earlier today, or earlier. We're just gonna go ahead and pour this over. Remember that your oven should be preheated to 350 degrees. We're just gonna pour our pudding. Now, it may seem runny, but just keep in mind that the longer this sets, it's gonna get firm. So once it gets to room temperature, it will be a lot firmer. Okay, so we can pour a little bit more, and then we're gonna layer with some wafers. So here's one fun thing that I like to do whenever I'm reading about a recipe is I like to actually learn about the history of the dish that I'm making. So today, for this video, I actually did some research about banana pudding because we're making banana pudding. And I came across some interesting facts that maybe you didn't know. The first known banana pudding recipe was actually in 1888 and by Good Housekeeping. We're also gonna throw some more wafers on here because remember, I'm a wafers guy. And then, but that recipe was a little bit different than the recipe that we use now. It was a little bit like this, where it was more of a homemade custard or pudding mix, but instead of wafer cookies, it was actually sponge cake that was used in the recipe. So we've kind of come a little ways from doing that. The wafer cookies just tend to be a little bit more of a convenient option for us. Not to say that it's not as delicious, because I love wafer cookies. Oh my gosh, they're so delicious. So continue popping these on here. But the wafer cookie kind of came out, and then in 1920, another recipe came out for banana pudding that included the wafers. That's when the whole switch started. And then in 1940, the very well-known wafer cookie brand that we all know and love these days actually began printing the the banana pudding recipe on the back of their boxes. And it's still tried and true, still what's done today. So just know that the recipe on the back of the wafer cookie box has been around since the 1940s and has been printed since the 1940s. I thought that was kind of cool. So I think that looks pretty great. Now we're just gonna add our second layer. I'm not gonna do another layer of bananas. I think that that might just be overkill, but if that's to your liking, then go for it. Let's pour our pudding over this. Make sure we get all of that, because you know, that's some yummy, yummy pudding we have going in here. Pour, pour, pour. And we're just gonna smooth this over. Make sure everything looks nice and neat. Just take a moment, become one with the banana pudding, because hopefully I'm going to be the only one eating it. We are all smoothed out. Everything is where it should be. Oh my goodness, this looks delicious. Now, what do we have left to do? Our meringue. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're just gonna pop this on top, and I'm gonna give it one quick stir to kind of make sure she's getting back together, doing all right. And then we're just gonna pop this on top. One key thing to make sure that you do is you wanna make sure that you seal your edges. That just simply means that you're gonna take your meringue all the way to the edge of your pudding. So whenever it bakes, it stays there, it stays where it's supposed to be, and then once it starts to cool, it's gonna do the same thing. So just make sure you do that, and you should be good. All right, now let's get to spreading. Yum! Spread, seal, spread, seal. Now, the fun thing about meringue does not have to be perfect at all. That's kind of the fun of meringue, is that you want those peaks, you want those valleys, because once she goes into the oven, that is gonna be where you get the beautiful golden coloration of that. So here, I'm gonna move this bowl out of the way so y'all can see what the heck I'm doing. I mean, this is a tutorial video, I guess, so I gotta know what the heck I'm doing over here. So we're just gonna seal, seal, seal all across, seal, and make sure that everything is going to be perfect. I can promise you this, your guests are going to love this whenever we get back to normal, and you can make this for your friends, your family, yourself during quarantine. I mean, these are all simple, easy ingredients to get, and the process is a little scientific with making, the meringue and tempering the eggs, but it's not that hard, y'all. Just try it. If it fails, then try it again. That's the fun of cooking, is just experimenting and trying new things, trying new techniques. They can be a little daunting at times, but with a little practice, a little patience, anybody can do these. So just make sure that we're gonna seal this last little corner over here, and I'm just gonna smooth out all the way across the top, kind of give her a little effect here. I like my meringue smooth. I know that that's probably like a faux pas, but I don't know. I just kind of like it smooth. So then that way every bite gets like the same amount of meringue. All right, this birthday dish is ready for the oven at 350 for 15 to 20 minutes. We're looking for it to be a beautiful golden brown color. That's what we're gonna be watching out for. So I'm gonna start checking mine at about 13 minutes, and you should do the same. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe while we wait, while this bakes, and we'll be right back. Okie dokie. So we have pulled our banana pudding out of the oven. We have let it cool for a little while, and now it's kind of the moment of truth, the taste test. So I'm gonna come in, I'm going for a corner. I'm a corner guy. I'm a corner and a wafer guy. So we're just gonna grab a little bit of here and see how we did. Oh my gosh, there's so many wafers. Gotta fish them out. Look at this meringue, y'all. It is so golden, it is so brown, it is so yummy. And let's see how it is. Perfect amount of banana, not too much. Also, the wafers and, well, the pudding's the main part. That's all we care about, right? Yeah. It's still a little bit warm. Not gonna lie, the warm is kind of weird at first because, being from the South, you're used to a cold banana pudding. I actually kind of might prefer this over a cold banana pudding. Yeah. This is delicious. Try this at home, make it for yourself, and let us know how you like this recipe in the comments below. All right, y'all, I've got to get out of here. I've got to go Zoom with Dolly. So if you liked this recipe, if you try this recipe and want to tell me what you think, drop it in the comments below. Tell me what you think. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Who's your favorite diva?